This is your host, Sir Patrick Mac. Knock, knock. You're supposed to say, who's there? You say, who's there? And I say, the most dangerous man on the face of the internet. I say it all smooth and mysterious like that. And then you say, oh, wow, IPOT. IPOT is the most dangerous man on the face of the internet. And I say, you're dang right, Patriot. And I'm at Yo Doe. So what do you do when IPOT comes for you? Well, in case you forgot by now, I'm going to walk you through it. You go over to that closet and you reach for a pair of Perséphone pants. Not those. Those are clearly not clean. Look at them. Look at them. All right, the clean ones. Then you go stretch your hammies, make sure everything fits just right? Then you grab some coffee, fist bump your neighbor, and you get ready to go. So let's do the thing. You know the thing. Let's do the thing. First things first, you may or may not have seen this video I posted on the 30th of June entitled Collision with Crisis. It is a trailer which suggests that something is coming. I'm working on it. And in general, I am transitioning into some longer form projects. I'm doing that for a number of reasons, but as we start to get closer and closer to elections, there are a few stories that I really want to get out. So I'm starting to transition into some of that. Q has been very prolific, posting quite a bit. And although I'm not really wanting to do a daily show, I do want to keep up on some of that with you. So I will be doing some updates here and there. But in general, this is where I am transitioning into, and I hope that you enjoy, and I hope you also understand these are very labor intensive, mostly with the research and the production and all that. So that's what I will be doing. Thanks to all of you who have been checking out the Weatherman Part 3. If you've not seen that yet, that is entitled All for Floyd, the number 4, All for Floyd. We talk about George Floyd. We talk about all kinds of stuff in that series. So if you've not checked that out, please do. Thanks to all of you who've been liking and sharing that. But this is where I'm working on it. This is what I'm up to. And yeah, let's move on. Big story of the day, of course, is the arrest of Lady Ghislaine Maxwell, who was procuring minors for Jeffrey Epstein and a number of other clients. Many of you are already familiar with this story, of course. Ghislaine being the famous daughter of Robert Maxwell from Daily Mirror fame, who was also a suspected Mossad agent for a long time and died mysteriously in his boat, aptly titled Lady Ghislaine. Anyway, Fox News reported this last night for me in the future. Epstein's former girlfriend and accused madam was arrested at 8:30 a.m. in Branford, New Hampshire. The charges against her are currently sealed. So it looks like the charges here, or at least part of the charges, are conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts, which we already kind of knew, right? And it looks like there could be more coming down the pike because half of Hollywood is in a panic. Now, I do want to clarify, I got a whole bunch of messages from people in New Hampshire saying, Patrick, I don't think there is a Branford, New Hampshire. I don't think there's such thing. Maybe they're talking about Bedford. So I went over to the Bedford, New Hampshire Police Department, and they announced that Ghislaine Maxwell was not arrested in Bedford. She was arrested in Bradford. So she wasn't arrested in Branford. She wasn't arrested in Bedford. She was arrested in Bradford. Not to be confused with Brad Ford, who has nothing to do with this. Now, Q's posting a ton. We're not going to cover all these posts, but I do want to hit a few of them here. One being 4565, 53 minutes after the hour of 12 on the 3rd of July. Possible Epstein was a puppet, not the main persons of interest. Well, I do want to point out for those who are new, I would imagine the history of the name Epstein would come from epi, meaning top, stein, meaning stone, top stone, or key stone, which Q references a lot. Is it possible that Epstein, in a way, was a keystone? You take that away, everything comes crashing down. But either way, we are looking for more than one person, it appears. Financed by who or what foreign entities? Well, I imagine there were probably a lot, and I can't help but think that somewhere along the line we're looking at the royal family, we're probably looking at the House of Saud, probably a number of foreign entities. And considering Epstein's connections as well as the Maxwells, you can imagine that Israel is probably involved too, and there's probably a lot of Mossad intel involved. There's a lot of people involved around the world. This appeared to be a worldwide racket. Number one, primary, gather blackmailed on elected politicians, dignitaries, royalty, Hollywood influencers, Wall Street, and other financial top-level players, other high-profile industry-specific people, etc. Well, that appears to be the case with Jeffrey Epstein. So we know the guy had a ton of coin. We know that he was actually advising people financially. As a matter of fact, Bill Gates was one of them, and we all know Bill Gates had a ton of coin. Those guys had something in common too. They were both eugenicists, right? They seem to be very interested in creating this superior human race. We found that out digging around in his mansion out there, that ranch out there in New Mexico. So we know that Jeffrey Epstein had a ton of power and did a ton of creepy things himself and was flying a ton of people to his little island. But what it seems to be is that he was a facilitator for so many other things, which is likely how he got that power, by wielding it over others, having blackmail. So if you're not familiar with how this works, if you're one of these elected politicians, dignitaries, etc., and you want to really get into the game as a big time player, you might end up doing something compromising on video. And a guy like Jeffrey Epstein probably housed that video in one of those safes that were taken away, both on the island and on his Fifth Avenue mansion there. So he probably had the goods on all these people, which is how you get that power. And of course, if you're a guy that does that, you're probably wrapped up in some sort of intel, and that appears to be the case considering his Mossad connections and the Maxwell's Mossad connections. So there's a lot going on here. I would imagine the House of Saud is involved, the royal family. All kinds of families are involved in this mess. Number two, feed an addiction controllable. Well, it is controllable. Look, this is an addiction and it does happen, and people get into all kinds of weird addictions, and that on its face could be forgivable. But what we're seeing here was an extreme addiction. And I imagine if you are one of these people and you're getting wrapped up in all this kind of stuff and you're getting money and you're getting power, and all you have to do is do a compromising thing here and there just to make sure that your silence is bought into, you start to develop this little loyalist crew, and that crew gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that appears to be what we see here. The Maxwell family background, well, like I just said, it was long suspected that Robert Maxwell was a Mossad agent. And this was long before we really even talked about Lady Guillaume. But I also want to point out, and I pointed this out on Twitter last night, that the connection is actually really simple with Jeffrey Epstein. So if you look at the Daily Mirror, which was one of these large publications for so many years, they did a ton, and I mean a ton, of charity with groups like Disney. They used to do a lot of different things actually at Disneyland, Disney World, and Guillaume was in charge of a lot of that. We also know that Disney was running some cruises to Epstein Island. We showed you that about a year ago. And they were running these little excursions here, and they had these little submarines and these little tour boats. This was all part of what we knew to be Disney cruises, and you can still find this off of their website. There are still some screenshots available of that. So we know that connection right there. And we also know that the Disney connection leads us into a number of other human trafficking arrests and pedophile cases. So this gets extremely deep. And of course, that going to Epstein Island, Epstein having Guillaume as his sidekick, if you will, then we kind of see how it all goes full circle right there. Robert Maxwell history, intel, agency, wealth, classified 1 through 99. So we know that there's a lot of things involved in this classified 1 through 99, whether they're charges, whether they're documents, whether they're people. We're not really sure, but I have a feeling it's pretty broad. But what we do know is that one of the things that is involved with this classified 1 through 99 is this Wheels Up airline. And this was sort of a private Uber, if you will, for private jets. And we know that Bill Clinton was on there. We know that Lady Guillaume was wrapped up in that. And the program was called Wheels Up. And it looks to be like another Lolita Express, just with the name Wheels Up. And we've seen Q reference that too, in reference to this classified 1 through 99. So it looks to me like we had ourselves a worldwide human trafficking ring. Sometimes it's the people in the background that are of greater significance. And I would argue that that is often the case. The people with the real power are usually the people we've never heard of. Now, in the very next post, 4566, Q references Nurse Deplorable. Congrats on getting a shout out from Q. And Nurse Deplorable is posting 3716 and post 4256. 3716 is from the 17th of December. First indictment unseal will trigger mass population awakening. First arrest will verify action and confirm future direction. They will fight, but you are ready. And then we see highlighted here marker 9 in brackets. Now that marker 9 appears to be referenced here in 4256 from the 17th of May 2020, where we see a link to Maria Bartiromo. And Q says Flynn DOJ dismiss week 1, kind of giving us a timeline here. FISA unmasked declass, public select dates week 2. Classified 1 through 99 again, week 3, you are here. So we were there in the 17th of May, 2020. And you can see as we go down that we have a 9. We actually have 10 there. So we appear to be at marker number 9. Q acknowledges this in post 4566. Impressive, most impressive. Argument: Maxwell is not a big enough name to trigger a mass awakening. Well, I suppose you could make that argument, and in a lot of senses, you'd be correct. A lot of people do know who she is now because of the Epstein story, but before then, I don't think most of us would have probably realized who she was, right? So in order for this to be really a big mass awakening, we're going to need to see names that we actually know, right? The counter argument that Q is offering: do not make statements based on assumption of worth and or value. Do not think today, but rather after today. So, like I said, a lot of times the most influential people are the ones we don't know the names to. But Guillen seems to be very well connected, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. So it's not so much their arrest and what they did, but all the people that are related. Remember, we had a ton of names on this flight log that went to the island. One leads to another, to another, to another, and we've got Hollywood in a panic already on the Twitter sphere. One leads to many. And then I think the real crux of the matter here is crimes against children. Common denominator, no matter political affiliation, mass population awakening, have faith in humanity. So I think despite your politics, when it comes down to seeing some actually hardcore proof that people are doing these kind of things to children, this will unite a lot of people, and I think politics will start to drop. Not completely, but in some ways they will. Now, I do want to point out that Q has capitalized humanity, and it's not the first time we've seen this, which leads me to think this could be a reference to Huma Abedin, who was married to Anthony Weiner, whose funky information was found on his laptop related to Hillary Clinton, right? So it all kind of kicks in. And we also know that the crimes against children are likely attached to her Clinton Foundation. As a matter of fact, we even saw that on a little screenshot from a Fox report suggesting that indeed was the case. We know that it really wasn't about Hillary Clinton's emails. It was about her foundation activities. Remember how knee-deep she was in places like Haiti, where there was a ton of human trafficking going on. And if you want to know more about that, please watch my first video that is actually the prequel, if you will, to this Collision with Crisis entitled Connecting a Crisis, where we talk all about that. So all connected, all organized right around the Epstein and Maxwell family. So although they may not be big names to a lot of people, the ones they're connected to should be. Now, I want to skip you through some of these pictures here. In 4568, we see Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre, who is one of the original accusers in regard to the Lolita Express. She came out against Andrew, against Dershowitz, Bill Clinton, and a few others. But she was one of the originals, and they have played really hardball with her. As a matter of fact, the court just recently ordered her, not him, her, to destroy her evidence. How about that? You see Lady Guillen in the back, and it looks like Prince Andrew is going to run from this whole thing. He doesn't appear to want to cooperate at all. It's going to be really interesting to see how that works out, but I think a lot of people are already suspicious of the royal family around the world. In 4569, we see Guillen with Bill Clinton here. I'm not sure if that's the Lolita Express itself or if it's part of this Wheels Up charter. I think it had something to do with Wheels Up from a previous report that I had done, but I'm not exactly sure. But in 4570, We see Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell right there. See, I could tell it's you. I could tell it's you. Anyway, it looks like Jeffrey Epstein is also guilty of stolen valor right there, because that's a Navy SEAL trident right there. You're not a chief. You're not a chief in the Navy. Anyway, in 4573 here, we have a picture of Bill Clinton with another young lady here, and this is where Q starts to go after everybody. I'm not exactly sure who this lady is, but in the next picture, 4574, we see Bill Clinton with Ray Chandler, and Ray Chandler is sort of a younger version of a Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, we're not exactly sure if she's cooperating. I have a feeling that it could be because of her information that we even got to Ghislaine in the first place, but we've not heard from her in a while. But what we do know is that she has been connected with just about everybody in Hollywood. Like I said, a younger version of Ghislaine, very well connected, probably doing a lot of funky things herself, but it appears that she was procuring people, and we even had some images on the island, Epstein Island, where we thought that this was probably related, where she was leading people to this place. So this looks to be very, very damning for Mr. Bill Clinton. We see him again in 4575 with some unnamed entertainer here. And in 4576, we have some girls with their faces blanked out, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on them here. But 4577 is really where we start to see the names here. Adam Perry Lang, Akon, Alan Dershowitz, Alberto Pinto, Alec Baldwin, Alyssa Rogers, Anderson Cooper, tons and tons of names, Chrissy Teigen, Ellen Spencer. So it goes on and on and on, and these are really going to be the names. These are the names of people that were on the Epstein flight logs. Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Tom Pritzker. Big names. Will Ferrell, Will Smith, Woody Allen. No surprise, right? Oprah Winfrey down here. Tons and tons of big names. And now, of course, we've got the Ellen Show canceled, the Oprah Show canceled. All these shows are canceled. Jimmy Kimmel, all of a sudden, he's off the air. What's going on? Are we rounding up these names? These will be the names that will really wake people up. So I highly suggest that if you have not, go to 4577, grab this list for yourself, and you can have a look for yourself. But these are very, very big names, and some of them we already know about. Now, the last post, 4580, took you to the Twitter link of Goodable. Good news when you need it the most. And it was a sweet little video of this deaf girl who was signing. I don't remember if it was to her mail delivery guy, UPS guy, whatever. It's not really important. It was a cute video. They were signing. It was a real nice video. Q says, have faith in humanity. Again, you see the capitalized HUMA, right? So a lot of people were commenting on, and this is actually the biggest reason why I logged on to do these posts today, because I don't think a lot of people caught what we actually saw here. So the post itself, the actual video, was very, very nice. There was nothing wrong with the actual video, what was being done in the video. But the group, Goodable, was getting all these comments, and they took their post down. Well, why would they do such a thing when they're just doing some good things? Well, I noticed when they came back up, they've removed their logo, and that is what I wanted to talk about. You'll see right there is no logo now. They've since changed it, but when they first came on, the logo was there. Now, I've got a screenshot from another video here. It's just a screenshot, but you see in the lower left corner there, the heart within a heart, which is a known pedophile symbol. And it was actually in their logo, part of it that they took down. And I noticed that tons of Q comments, Q sent me, Q sent me, Q sent me. Nobody was commenting on it. So I was like, I gotta do a video. That's why I'm here. So I would assume that something's going on with this Goodable. Now, you can also see they're following 27 people, and they're all famous. So, or I shouldn't say they're all famous. Most of them are pretty well known. So I imagine there is something really creepy with this Goodable. It could be some sort of comms. Looks like Goodable knew they were caught, took it all down. And if you're having a hard time finding that link, that's why. But those are your Q posts for now. I'm going to get back to working on my video. I'll see you when I see you, but don't worry, I'll come on from time to time just to make sure that you and I can share some coffee, and you can, listen to your dogs and your horns and whatever. Hey, I miss you. I miss you. Bro hug. Let's just bro hug. Don't get all emotional. All right, those are your Q posts. And until next time, this is Sir Patrick Mack. Stay funky.